So we will call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Select Board for the purpose of discussing budget for the fiscal year 22-23. We don't have an agenda. Is that correct, Karen?
No, I should have given you one though.
That's all right.
It's just budget.
It's just budget.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
No adjustments to the agenda.
Good, because I was gonna not know how to handle that. All right, so we'll go first with library budget. Emily, you wanna?
Sure. I'm not sure. Am I sharing from my computer? Do you folks have a printout? I just want to get a handle.
We have a printout of the budget.
Okay, cool.
But we are recording.
Oh, so all right. Let me do the screen share. Oh, you made it. So oh no, haha. I think you might have to make me a co-host, Karen.
Oh no.
I know you didn't want to touch it again. But I thought I had to.
Co-host, either or.
Double click on participants at the bottom.
Or allow.
Co-host.
Yeah.
Or
whichever, whatever. I think that will just let me. Oh yes. Okay. Now I have the magical power here.
let's
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Okay.
Color. Okay.
Ooh,
Yes.
fancy.
I find the colors. I know we're looking at lavender.
But there'll be different colors though.
All
right, folks. Well, I guess hold on. Why is it doing this? Okay. It just looks a little bit more sane for me now. So we're looking at it in reference to the colors. We're looking at the lavender years or the lavender year is fiscal year 2023. The pink year to its left is the budget that we're presently in. And the last actual completed is 2021, which is green, which was a very weird year for all of us, including, for the library. So my actuals aren't, they don't help me as much as they have in the past in terms of thinking about what a normal functional library year looks like. So we have done our best to come up with projections. Karen has given me a lot of help with what she's figuring in for other budgets for the general fund. So in looking at revenues, I've left things very much the same. You'll notice that we have the town allocation line here. And this is our requested town allocation this year. Most of the things have stayed the same. We also have these we have a miscellaneous grants line and we have a courier grants line. And there has been a lot of money for libraries, for public institutions, for local government. And we have been able to take advantage of a lot of COVID time grants for things like programming materials and things like that. So I'm hoping to see some income, some things being defrayed from in these, both in the budget year we're in now and also in lavender year 2023. Are there any, I'll check in at each juncture. Are there any questions about the revenue lines as you see them?
I'm just curious, the courier grant, would that be interlibrary or what is the?
It is. So the courier grant defrays from a line that further down, an expense line that we call postage, but we don't do it by post very much anymore. It's almost entirely by our courier, and it is interlibrary loan. The library also joined the Catamount Library Network in 2018 as a way to share resources. And so I think some of you guys have probably taken advantage of this, where you can log in to your library account. You can request things from Brooks Library in Brattleboro or Rutland Library or 20 other libraries. So, and those things all have to come by courier. So we are part of the courier. We split a stop with Putney School for cost savings. And we also receive a grant, which is great. So that is what the courier grant is.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions about the revenue lines? I will continue to track. We'll head down here to the expenditure lines. My colorful spreadsheet might be laid out a little bit differently than the NEMRIC printouts you guys are used to, but just to let you know, the yellow lines across the top are summary lines. They are the sum of the lines below them. So for instance, cleaning is a nice easy one because the only thing in the line is cleaning. And you could just see, you know, these two numbers are the same. If there was another one underneath it, this would be the total from everything underneath. So there's kind of these broad categories: cleaning, programs, maintenance, circulating materials, and things like that. Just to get you used to the format. Our cleaning went up a little bit this year. We have left programs and parks passes budgets the same. Maintenance is, progressively going up as our building ages. So you see a small increase in dollars there, $500. In circulating materials, we did add some money to adult and juvenile books, and also to video and audio books. Digital content has also been going up, especially we added Canopy, which I think a lot of people have been using, a streaming video service during the pandemic. And that the cost for that in the fiscal year that we're presently in and the one before that has been defrayed by the trustees kicking in fundraising dollars for that. But I'm trying to have it, as it has proven to be very popular, I'm trying to have it be in the normal operating budget. So you'll see an increase there too. We also have just extreme increased use of digital content, downloadable ebooks and audiobooks since the pandemic. And I don't think that's going to taper off, even though people are back in the library using a lot more physical materials. So that's the circulating materials. Office supplies, leaving the same. Postage, aka courier, that we were just discussing, I've actually reduced a little bit. Our cost sharing with Putney School has allowed us to cut this down a little bit, which is great. Technology, I have left all of those things the same. This is called, under technology, is copy machine lease. It's actually more a blend of the lease and also the cost for copies, some of which is balanced out up top in the revenue line for printing. The salaries line is here. That is, we have this percentage increase that I think will be similar to other departments. And in benefits and insurance, we have a little bit of a, very slight increase. You'll see some of these lines, dental and pension, that's the big one, are a little bit lower because when one of our employees retired, we just changed how that position was structured. So it's now split into two positions, neither of which are 24 hours. It was a 24-hour position that was split into two, so neither of them meet the minimum number of hours for pension. So there's a little bit of a savings there. And we've added a little bit to training and travel. We have some new staff. I am expecting that they'll be taking advantage of, they're already taking advantage of more professional development. And I'm hoping some of that might be in person and we might travel somewhere again. But in the meantime, there's a lot of really great online conferences and learning that we've been taking advantage of. We've figured a 3% increase for heating oil, and I hope that's enough. And we always have this zero sum contingency special projects line. We have that be just a $0 line, and then it gets filled in actuals. And that's just for us to track special projects that the trustees decide to fund completely out of fundraising. And then down at the bottom, we have our liability insurance. You'll see my number is red. This is the only number that we're really still waiting on, right, Karen?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the only one that isn't, it's just I'm not going to say it's purely an estimate because Karen got some information for us to base that on, but it brings us down to to our total budget line and our total variance from last year, which is 3.46%.
So Emily, the dollar amount difference is $7,861 as an increase. Is that correct?
I believe so, though my spreadsheet doesn't only tells me the percentage, but yes, I think that's about right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. And I have three other comments.
Please.
Under digital content,
Yes.
so is that 15.79% correct?
It's a big percent, but it's not big dollars, because when you, let me look, I mean, I believe that
No, I meant the formula, is it correct?
the formula, that's a great question. I'm looking at it now, 33,
It's pretty close.
Is that?
79. No, I believe I'm right. I mean, it's the same formula copied down through all of those. So I think it's just the percentage over, what is it? It's $1,050 over, 6,000.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I said, it's a big, it's $1,050, but that's a substantial percentage increase over the year before.
Right. Just so the board knows that the salary line item in here is a 6% increase at the moment.
Yeah, there's also, that's correct. That is with figuring in the figures that Karen gave us, but I was also able to restructure hours slightly and have a little bit of savings there. So I believe there's one fewer work hour per week, or based on from your calculation initially, Karen.
Right.
It might.
There's 2 full-time employees and the others are part-time. So
the full times would be equal to a 6% increase,
Yes.
but that's offset by a decrease in numbers. Yeah. I'm curious, and I don't think I've asked this in the past, but why do we charge a water sewer use charge? Is that just sort of for accounting purposes?
yes,
Okay.
but we do it for the fire department as well
Okay.
in here.
Okay. Yeah, just keep track of that.
Correct.
Yeah, and do you buy, or do we pool the library on oil?
Yes,
Okay.
and the fire department.
So I knew we did the fire department. Yeah, that 3% might be conservative, but it might not, given, who knows?
Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen, and I think that's the best guess scenario.
I mean, it's certainly up right now. I mean,
Right.
It's this year's budget that's probably going to be
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yes.
that's a debate whether
Yes.
a year from now it'll be an issue or not.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. But we pre-bought.
That's
We
what I was
did.
thinking too.
But we didn't prepay like we did the year before, because we ended up with another good discount when we did that.
Okay.
So even though we pre-bought, but we didn't prepay, it doesn't lock in the price, is that what you're saying?
Yes, we have a contract.
So we have a contract. It does lock in the price or does not?
It does. Okay, good, yeah.
Yes.
Scared me.
But I just can't, every year I go out to bid,
Right.
and I will have to watch the state. The state also offers fuel oil.
Yeah.
And even though whoever they're contracted with may not be the lowest,
Right.
so that's why I always go out to
Watch
bid.
it. Yeah.
Yes,
No, and we've done that for a long time.
yes.
We've been doing that for a while. So that's good.
So my question, just to make sure I understand this, the total increase is $7,861. And the increase in the town allocation you're asking for is $7,800.
Correct. It's entirely in town allocation.
Okay.
yeah, because we just, yeah.
So everything else in the budget basically balances out except for $61.
No, it should balance to zero, and it does it on the bottom.
What is the $61 question? It should all add up. I just,
We just don't show, we just show the percentage. Yeah,
okay, yes,
it might be helpful in the future just to have
with a dollar.
a number change. Yeah.
You are correct. I'll make a new column, a new lavender column in the future. But I believe it was Karen that just checked me on the dollar difference, 7,861, and I just did the math as well.
So David, the revenue, $235,061 matches the total expenses on the second page at $235,061.
$61.
I get that. I was just saying that the allocation increase that's asked for
Yep,
basically covers the increase in the budget.
Right, the town allocation.
The town allocation, right, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So in other words, we don't have an increase in revenues from other locations.
correct.
no. When I plug the library budget into NEMRIC, I'll be able to show the dollars.
Mhm. Okay.
And of course, when it goes into the general fund, you're only gonna see that one number.
Mhm.
And I don't remember, I'm guessing we thought about this when we did the 2022 budget, but why is it that Edwald is down so much?
Because it's not making money. Yeah, so we were,
Why is that?
because it's so low right now. And when
The
Chip,
total volume of it?
yes, so when Chip was here, he warned me, he said, you gotta keep an eye on this because it's not making the money. And if you
To
keep,
cover
if you keep
distribution.
giving the $5,000 distribution, you're gonna like have no money in that account.
And what's the total account volume of?
I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I don't-
Because hopefully, I mean, everything's been doing pretty well for the last year or so.
Right.
So hopefully it's
Yeah.
been doing well, but if we we should just know. We should be taking a, 3 to 4% draw off it as opposed to larger and eating away at principal. We should be
Right,
maintaining the principal and growing.
right. That's why I reduced the allocation
That's a treasure, yeah. that's a
for the
treasure
highway,
issue.
for the general fund, to the library.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like at 2,500.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
and I'll watch it another year. But with COVID, I didn't really want to take that chance and not have any money left in that.
well, no, I agree with you. Yeah, we should just, if we've been chewing away at the principal on it all along, then that's too bad. But,
So,
all right,
I made a new column with dollar difference at the end of this lavender zone, and I'm not sure, you guys must be looking at a NEMRIC printout, not a printout of this, but
now we're looking at yours.
oh, okay,
You have a Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
okay.
are there any other questions?
I'm good.
No, Janice, do you have anything for us?
As the chairman of the board, we're really so honored and kind of overwhelmed by the support of the community that we've been receiving for the past 2 years. With the addition of the new youth librarian, we've been able to do so much. The library's been able to do so much more for the children in the community and their parents.
Yeah.
So, we're out with their parents as well. The staff, the board can't really speak adequately even to convey how hard the staff have worked during this time.
Yeah.
And it's our goal to, continue to work really closely with Emily and them to have the best library, continue to have the best library probably in the state. if the feedback from our patrons is any indication.
Yeah.
You know. The board is really, really so supportive of the library and what they do, and astonished all the time at what they're able to accomplish.
Well, thank you for playing the role you play.
Oh, hey, it's a pleasure.
Can I mention too, Emily received a,
Oh, yes.
can you share that?
Yeah,
with the board?
surely. Kind of a great idea. Thank you so much. Yeah. So every year, the Putney Co-op gives a award to the, community citizen of the year, and this year it went to Emily
Oh, great.
service in October at the library.
Good.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Good.
That's my.
I gave Karen a copy of it when we did you. So.
Well, good. Well, thank you very much, Emily.
Thank you, guys. Hey, anybody who has any questions about this, whether you're a select board member or someone watching at home or watching the recording, I am always happy to talk about the library budget. So feel free to get in touch. You know where to find me. And you feel free to email or call as well. So thank you all. And everybody have a good night. If we're done with the library portion, there's no other questions.
I would just want to say, I should have said thank you for the town for continuing to support our library budget and the improvements we've had to make in painting the building and cooperating with us and all those kind of good things. It feels great to be so supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And
Thank you. Also, it gets used a lot, and I think that's hard. It's hard to convey to all the citizens how used it is by many of the citizens, because people who don't use it don't see that, but people who do use it really see it and feel it and know it, and it makes a huge.
Well, that's why we featured in our appeal this year, voices of half a dozen people in the community, including a young child, a non-English speaker, who really, I think you've seen it and read the words of Odie Kiyoshi, and how the library has changed his life. It's a little tease.
Yeah.
Things we don't even know.
Yeah. Good.
thanks, Janice. Yes, look for this in your mailbox. Speaking of revenue streams, multiple ones in our revenue streams are funded by the donations by our community, above and beyond what they already pay in taxes, which I am always very humbled by. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily.
Folks.
Thanks, Jen.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for getting me onto the meeting, Karen, and for all of your support with putting together the budget, as always.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to stop. I'll stop sharing my screen. I'll try to figure out that, and then. Uh-oh. Oh, wait, here we are. Oh, here we are. Okay, great. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Safe things.
Return.
All right, so fire department's next, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Good.
Karen, which draft numbers do the select board have?
The latest ones you gave me.
Okay, does that include the grant? No.
No, it does not.
Okay. All right, so we'll go off. We'll go off. So, very similar to what Emily had mentioned. If we go over the first section of our expenditures, very similar to what she indicated, salary wise for my salary, that's put in there as a 6% increase. As I told Karen, as I've said every year, whatever happens with that happens with that. That's your decision.
I'm not sure what you said.
Well,
Whatever reason.
excuse me. EMS equipment and supplies, a subtle increase of $500 in there. And that's just simply to keep up with the cost of the cost increases we see from our vendors. Our mutual aid assessment, that's up a very modest 2% this year. As the vice president of the board of directors for the mutual aid system, I can say that one of our goals every year is to keep that assessment, keep our budget just where it needs to be in order to keep the assessments as low as they are. There are two separate payroll line items. The first is member payroll, and then the second is built into fire and EMS training. Those increases, and there's a little bit of backstory along with this, but those increases that you see there are to get us in to make sure we're in line with the federal minimum wage increase that's coming in 2024.
Yeah.
Telephone and alarm. That's obviously a big jump, and there's a story with that.
Yeah.
That telephone and alarm line item, internally, we're actually transitioning it to IT. So a part of that is, and I've got the breakout in the folder, but a part of it is has to do with our telephone system. That was all a part of the bigger picture of the telephone system here and at fire station. And it also covers our internet service. And was that last year? Yeah, it was last year. There was a big increase with the internet service when we changed, all of us changed from Southern Vermont Cable to Xfinity. The remainder of that for this year has to deal with specifically with our electronic records management system. And this goes back to 2008. In 2008, through our mutual aid system, every department in the mutual aid system that's dispatched by mutual aid was offered the opportunity to come on board for records management systems with Firehouse software. So we've had that system since 2008. So however many years that is. That system, and I'll fill in any blanks that you have with questions as you wish to ask them. But that system right now is only partially supported. That system is going away. Firehouse software is going away. The company opted not to invest money into upgrading their systems to where those systems need to be in today's world because of competition. And they just simply didn't feel that essentially the competition overtook them, and they lagged way behind in the investment, and the makeup of that investment just wasn't going to work for them. So we, as in the mutual aid system, are transitioning to a different software provider. It's called the company name is ESO, and it's going to allow us to do everything that we currently do with our software package, plus a number of other advantages to go along with it. Unfortunately, the end result is a dramatic increase in what our annual fee is for that. Right now, and since 2008, we've been paying $475 a year for that service. Starting this year, we'll be paying $8,100 for that service.
From 475 to 8,100.
Yeah, and honestly, Josh, what you can equate that to is very simply and straightforward what the capabilities are
Right.
with the system.
Numbers the same,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, very similar compared to Nimmer.
which we pay 5,000 a year
The systems
annually.
just evolve in what they're able to do and how we're able to interact with them. So,
So it's basically because it's playing catch up for the fact that it hadn't evolved for so long.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Now, when we first started with Firehouse, and honestly, I don't remember, and I don't even know if I still have the information, but we were given a significant financial break, if you will, because there were so many departments lumped into the system. Same thing applies here. We're getting some pretty significant financial breaks because of what we're bringing to the table.
At the $8,100, that's a break.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
And who is that group? Is that related to key mutual aid? or is
Yes,
that
it's key mutual aid, the system. Yeah.
Yeah.
So without any exaggeration, and I can demonstrate it for anybody at any given time if you truly want to see it. Without any exaggeration, every single thing we do at the firehouse is on our CAD system. I'm sorry, within this electronic system.
Yeah.
This electronic system is also directly tied to our CAD system, the computer aided dispatch system. And there's a tremendous amount of information that passes between the two systems. And that's hugely advantageous when it comes to incident responses, where any of us, not just we can look at our phones and have a tremendous amount of information right at our fingertips. I'm learning more and more about this new system. So today I was on a 2.5-hour webinar, and I learned that just one example. Right now, and we're required to report our incidents to NIFRS, the National Fire Incident Reporting System, which is the United States Fire Administration. All the departments in the state, all across the country, we're required to report our incidents to NIFRS. Right now, because of the fact that our firehouse software is so antiquated, right now we're paying in my salary just shy of $5,200 a year for me to do that. Because what I need to do is
Just in hours, basically.
Yeah, it takes me about 12, 13 hours a month to do it. I have to, every so often throughout the month, I need to batch things, batch calls, and I need to batch them and back them up, and batch them and back them up, and then I can do a full batch and send them. And it takes time to do that. So that right there is a huge piece of what we perceive as this increase.
Because you're saying that gets taken care of.
That's done automatically. Every 30 days, it's automatically done. We don't even have to think about it. Starting in January 1st, we're now being required by state statute by state EMS rule, we have to report all of our PCR, patient contact reports, or patient care reports electronically to the state. We've not done that in the past. This program will be able to do that. 30 seconds after we close each report out, it's sent to the state. It's also sent to our medical director, and because Rescue Inc. is also using the same system, they're already in the process of transitioning. And they're our primary transport provider. Our reports automatically link with theirs. So at any given time, our medical director can look at our reports together and see what's gone. That's going to be a huge benefit for all of us.
So is this going to affect this year's budget, or is as of?
I have a question pertaining to that. I can finish this off, or I can ask it now.
No, go. Yeah, whatever you think makes the most sense.
I'll ask it now. The transition time, the time it's gonna take ESO to transition all of our existing, once we sign with them, they build our department on their platform. Then they extract all of the information that we presently have in Firehouse. They go in and manipulate that however they do it, and I'm totally ignorant. And they bring that over into our new platform. So everything we already have, all of our building information, response information, incident reports,
All of it. So essentially, all your historical data.
all our inspections, all of our permits, every single thing we have, all of our inventory, all of our maintenance records. They'll bring all that over into the new platform and we're up and running. Along with that, there's a couple different financial pieces. One is the expenditure to get us locked in and allow them to move forward. The second piece involves the training for all of this. I'm honestly not so worried about the training. It's a pretty decent figure. It's like $4,000. I'm not worried about that because, and already we're already scheduled on December 9th to go through part of the training, piggybacking with Rescue Inc. So I'm very, very comfortable that training expense for this is not going to be anywhere near that dramatic. I think we're going to be able to piggyback and group things with other departments who will be transitioning roughly the same time. And we'll be able to see a lot of savings here. It may not cost us a dime.
And who are you training? Just officers or?
No, the whole department. Because everybody's going to be using it. That's just the way it is.
So is this new software, I assume it's cloud-based?
It is, yes,
Okay, and the old software was in-house?
yes.
Okay, are there any infrastructure costs that we could get rid of? Once you,
It wasn't in-house for us.
Okay.
It was all in-house, that everything was at our dispatch center. So we accessed it remotely.
Okay.
So it all lived
oh, wow, all
there.
right, okay.
Yeah.
So there's no real cost savings for,
The only is that $475 that will transition.
okay, right.
Not that that's a huge help, but.
Okay.
What was that number? The transition?
Well, just what we're paying right now, $475 a year.
Not
No.
$475?
The cost of,
Right,
Getting you up running on ESO.
Oh,
yeah.
So to get us up and running and get us set to move forward with them. Oh. Is it in the other folder? Please tell me not. It was gonna be roughly that $8,100, but just a skosh less. Yeah, I don't have the actual figure, it's in my
For
other
a setup
folder.
cost? you're
Yes.
saying.
To get us going for the first
So
year.
this is an
Yeah.
annual,
And allow, that is an annual, and to allow them to begin the build out in the transitioning of all the information. So that's gonna take about 4 months.
The same price, go ahead, it's just, so that 8,100 covers us for 23, or we're paying 8,100 for 22, and
Well,
8,100 for 23.
What I'd like to do in order to get us on the front end and get us moving as quickly as we can, realizing that we're still 4 months out before we can actually start to use anything. In our current budget, because of the fact that Clear Choice MD is holding us off on our annual physicals again because of the whole COVID thing. They're just pushing us off. And that's fine. It is what it is. That's all part of it. I've got the overwhelming majority of of that money still there.
Yeah.
Plus some reserve that we still have left in training that we can allocate for anything. What I'd like to do is combine those dollar amounts, take that, get ESO working for us, and get our system going.
So, and you'll still be paying, like you said, it's not a huge number, but you'll still be paying that $475 to Firehouse.
That's already paid.
Oh,
That's
okay, so you pay
That's
it
all.
as an annual.
That's already
Yeah,
paid.
okay.
And we won't pay it again. It'll be a part
As of
of,
July
right, moving forward, it'll be a
Yeah.
part of the, yeah.
So the amounts that were for physicals and that was budgeted for physicals and the amounts that were left over for training add up to roughly what?
Yeah, what we need, at this point, I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the medical services on your budget sheet right here, so if you look under 2022.
Where are we in the,
86.
sorry, where are we in the lines there?
Medical expenses slash
Medical
exams.
expenses.
Sixth line down, fourth line down from the top.
So the budget for that is $8,600.
I see,
We have to,
okay.
And
we
you
have to
spent-
deduct a little bit of that.
you
It's
spent-
less than $1,000.
Yeah, you spent $750.
Okay, yeah, and that's our annual EAP.
So that leaves you $7,850.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is pretty close to the 8,100.
Okay.
With that second one you just mentioned.
Yeah, pulling out of training.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Okay. So I'd like to do that and get ESO locked in. So
Because then
they
you'll
can
be up and
begin,
running.
right, they can begin the process.
Yeah, seems to make sense.
Okay.
I mean, that, honestly, that's not really a decision for us, that's more. between
Yeah,
you
that's
two.
between you and I, Tom.
Right, well, the other day you said, we talked about it with the board. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
but,
And thank you.
yeah,
yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's a
Um,
big, but he's adjusted his budget for this year that he can manage it, so I don't see an issue with it.
and I imagine there's not much you can do about it.
No.
But if Clear Choice is not able to do your annual physicals, what are the implications of that? I mean, that's only this year, but so you're just
Nothing.
skipping this year's annual physicals?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. My only concern with that, and I don't know who mandates having those annual physicals, but what if somebody has a heart attack and they hadn't had a physical that something might have showed up? Is there a liability for us?
Right.
Is there a liability for Clear Choice?
No,
Okay, so, okay.
So let's see, okay, so we covered all that. Radio maintenance, there's an increase, again, just simply because of the radio issues that we have, and what we're seeing, for increases for our vendors. One quasi unfortunate thing to go along with that is Carl Noe, who I'm sure all of you know. He's been our radio guy for years. We've used mutual aid, the radio shop there, on and off, but primarily it's been Carl for years. He's retiring the end of this year. So all of our radio stuff will be going through mutual aid. I know there's gonna be some cost increases with that change just all by itself.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. We'll do what we can.
Well, good for Carl and
Oh, absolutely.
and thanks, Carl, for all this. I know how dedicated he's been to us.
One thing he did assure me of is, our local municipal repeater frequency that he holds for us, and we use his repeater for that. That's all still in place and isn't gonna go anywhere, so.
Up on Benning Road.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The next section of expenditures, there's no changes. The final section on the next page, equipment, maintenance and repairs. An increase there, as noted, simply due to, one change has been, annual pump testing for the engines and the tanker. Historically, I've done those. The reality is, I can't do them anymore. I don't have the time. It's a significant process. Because of the world that we live in, liability comes into play. So we're starting to contract that out. Some other issues that apply there have to do with, and this will bring me to another question. Our SCBA flow testing, that used to be, we could do that every 2 years. Once we got our new SCBA's last year through the grant, now they're required every year. So that's another expense that we've got to take care of every year.
And you can't do that in-house.
No, absolutely not. Oh, no, absolutely not. Apparatus undercoating. We've started that process. We're not doing them all each year. We're gonna do different ones per year and spread them out. But that's more expensive.
And have we not done that at all?
Historically, we haven't. Historically, we haven't.
So that's a good investment.
Oh, absolutely. It truly is. And what's the great thing about it is we don't have to take the trucks.
Right.
They come to us.
I've seen that, yeah.
So it works well, and it's gonna be well worth the money.
And just out of curiosity, is that fluid film or is it something else?
No. This gentleman uses virgin hydraulic oil.
Okay. And where does he do it? Right in the park?
Right in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Better talk.
Yep. Yeah, there's very, very little on the ground when they're done.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And then just as we see everywhere, just the annual slight increases here and there from our vendors and suppliers. And they just add up.
If we don't, this is a sidebar, but if we don't do it that at the highway department, we should do it at the highway department.
Yeah, they've done them for right along.
Okay.
Yeah. And then one thing that's not included in your numbers, because it transitioned us into draft number 3, which was just yesterday. For grants, I would like to include in there a dollar amount of $375,000. What our plan would be is, unfortunately, I'm just not going to have things done enough in time for the current AFG grant cycle that we're in right now. But the next AFG grant cycle, I want to submit an application to replace all of our radio communications equipment.
And AFG is.
Assistance to Firefighters grants, the federal grant.
Okay.
The last one we got was for all of our breathing apparatus, hydraulic rescue tools, and then because of budgeting the way it came out, we were able to add some other things.
Can you explain the radio equipment?
Absolutely. And I'm not a radio guy, but
Which radio are you talking, you're not
All of
talking
our
about
all of our mobile radios in
Handheld
the trucks, all of our
radios?
Yeah.
375,000. That's what the grant amount is, or that's what you think
that's
you'll need to spend?
That's what the cost is.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you remember the days.
I know, no,
And to a certain degree, we still do portable radios.
Yeah.
You could buy them for $400, $500.
Yeah.
And that was, oh my God.
Yeah.
Whether it be right, wrong, or indifferent, we still buy those at that roughly that cost.
Yeah.
Just because we can't afford what
you would like to
what
have.
we should be buying.
Yeah.
Now portables are $6,000 a piece.
Oh my goodness.
Mobile radios, the ones that are in the trucks, those are $6,000 a piece.
Why? What
Because they can be. And I'm not being facetious.
I mean, do you get a whole lot more for your money, or is that just what it costs now?
That's just what they cost now. Now, in saying that, they're all P25 compatible, meaning digital compatible. They can do, we can trunk our radios together. There are repeaters now involved. It'll give us the ability for all band communications. So not only will it be the VHF the normal bands that we've been with, we operate on, we're also gonna have UHF, we're gonna have digital capabilities. So as our mutual aid system changes and those around us change, we can adapt to it.
And does that, in theory, give you broader area of reception? I mean, reception on those things is
Yes.
pretty darn good anyway.
Yes.
As it is, but.
Yes,
in
and
theory,
just the nature of the electronics.
Yeah.
It does help to enhance things.
Wow, it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now that, in that 370, now. And I'm not sure how we need to get this done. For the next several weeks, that dollar figure needs to be a little fluid. Because as I'm getting more educated, I'm starting to narrow things up a little bit. And say, no, we want this instead of that.
Yeah.
Do we have that ability to keep that fluid for the next several weeks?
If it's grant money, it doesn't, I mean, if it's potential income.
Yeah, I mean, is this going to be grant money?
It will be,
Yeah,
yes.
well, it's not.
This money will not be expended
Not
unless
expense.
we receive the grant.
Okay.
So within that $375,000 as it's right now, 25% of that, or 75,000 of that, which is 25% of the 300,000,
Right.
is it will be the town's match.
That's a lot of money.
That's amazing.
It is a lot of money, but
It costs that kind of money.
yeah. I mean, with our existing mobile radios, when we bought those, we bought those over a 3-year time frame to get everything set. Those were $1,500-$1,800 a piece. And I thought, oh my God,
How long do these last for?
well, I mean, everything today has a time
Yeah.
lifespan.
Technology.
These are our current ones. They're all, the newest one is 10 years, 11 years, 12 years in that time frame.
Do you think that they would last that long? Do you think that, because it's like,
Yeah.
because the technology's gonna keep changing?
Yeah.
Things are gonna get obsolete faster.
How do you?
I'd like to say they'll last 20 years.
Okay.
I don't know. The ones that we have now, the one we've got on the tanker, we're having a recurrent problem with. And I know at some point it's just gonna go away, but we keep looking along for now.
So when, sorry,
Maintenance on the stuff we have now is, you got $4,000 a year, what's the maintenance going to be on that stuff?
Actually, honestly, it's gonna be a lot easier because everything's plug and play.
Okay.
These new ones, you can access them remotely and do what you gotta do to them.
so you'll probably have a contract that'll be contracted?
Yes, there'll be a contract on the front end
Right.
as a part of the grant that will cover
Maintenance for.
exactly
For what portion of the life, if you're hoping to last
5 years.
For 5 out of 20?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're designed to last 5 years and a month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Can we get a 10-year upfront and then we get the better ones for the
Right.
same price?
So that's where we're at with that. Which again brings me to the question, and I know we talked about it and hammered on it last year, and then it went away. We've talked about it several times in the past. At what point can we legitimately start or initiate a true capital reserve fund for the fire department? Because this is just one more example. I never in my life thought I would ever see a portable radio cost $6 grand.
Right.
It is what it is. So between that kind of stuff, our air packs have a 10-year lifespan, we're already 2 years into that. So 8 years is gonna be gone like that. We've got no, and I have no idea if grants are gonna be around then. So we're gonna have no way to replace those. Our air pack cylinders, those have a 15-year lifespan. So right now, what I do is I buy a couple a year. So even though we've got 26 or 27 brand new ones, I'm starting to cycle them already because that's what it takes. Apparatus, those costs.
Apparatus makes all the rest.
Yeah, I mean, right, but at the end of the day, you know, we've got all these expenditures that are gonna come around again. And by the time we get there, the grants probably aren't gonna exist anymore. So how are we gonna do it?
We need different revenue, more revenue streams.
You gotta get your folks fundraising.
Exactly, we need more revenue streams. I mean, taxes are already crazy.
But
But a capital reserve fund is probably the way to go.
I have no argument with that. I'm all for that. It's my baby.
That's like a warrant article, right?
What was that?
That's a warrant article.
More?
yes,
Well,
Town meeting that
We have a
do.
capital reserve account.
We already do one for this specific thing, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
right. So
Our capital reserve though
Yeah.
is not a savings account, so to speak.
well, no, because we're not putting any money in.
Because we have to figure out how we're gonna fund that. That's why I'm saying we need more revenue streams.
Right.
well, which we decided, I mean, last year, that was an article to
Yes, yeah,
to move money and then fund capital reserve for the highway department.
right.
And for the general fund.
So we
But not
should,
Do it again.
yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, we've certainly, we're all aware that next year's budget is gonna jump a bunch. But if we don't start putting it away now, it's gonna jump a big bunch more at some point. And so, you know, I'd rather,
I mean, and
I think we all
agree.
know that we have to, you know, if we're gonna go up, whatever it's gonna be this year on our overall budget of, you know, whether it's 6% or 10%. Another percent, I don't know. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think we need to keep doing capital funds because just the increase in cost.
Yeah.
is
No, I
beyond what
understand
we
that,
can do.
and, once I can plug the numbers into the final general fund to
Right.
see where we're at,
Then we can think about that.
then we're gonna have to rethink and talk and see.
No, and the reality of what you're saying is, you know, we probably ought to be dumping at least $100 grand a year into that in order to have it be anything even close to realistic 5 to 10 years from now, and even then, it's probably not that realistic, but, you know,
but
real numbers.
even if when it comes time for a new truck, or it comes time
Right.
for air packs to be replaced again. If you can at least take 50% from that
Right,
and bond the other, or however it works out.
yeah,
But, you know, I mean, air packs, $140,000.
Right.
In yesterday's money.
right,
By the time they come due again,
twice that.
I mean, yeah, you're probably looking at least 200, 230.
I completely agree with that we should have capital reserve funds and work towards stuff so that the cost when it comes is offset by what we have. And I also think that we need to involve the community that can afford to contribute to that in a higher percentage in the way we did with the swimming pool. And the more targeted those kind of drives are at a specific goal, the more people want to be involved, I think. So that's what I talk about other revenue streams, because as things go up 10% and then they go up 10%, and they go up 10%, and taxes are covering all of that, and that's the only thing that's covering all of that. I gotta tell you,
They
it's,
can't,
this is
it's gonna drive
Slippery
people out
slope.
of town.
right, exactly.
You know, the library is successful in their fundraising. So, I mean, we can look at that and try to, you know, put something in place for the fire department too. And the reserve too is a good idea. We're gonna have to do it eventually. But deciding on how much money, I'm doing it with the highway right now.
Mhm.
you know, eventually he won't have any payments. His bond payment's gonna be paid off in a few
Right.
years.
Right.
The schools
Right.
contribute, the private schools contribute to the fire department
So that should go
for
directly
public
into
safety.
that should go
Okay.
into a capital fund.
So if his budget is increased, right, then what we should be seeing, and we have to renegotiate with the schools.
Right,
That number has to go up to, you know, fit.
equivalent.
Yes, yes.
So another, that's this year that has to happen, right?
That
The
probably should have
renegotiation.
happened a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
but
Oh, really?
because of COVID.
Okay.
And some of the schools came to me and they said, we don't know if we can do this.
But they
It's like,
continued their current
Yes,
contribution.
yes, they've been continuing, I haven't had to chase, I send letters as a reminder. They've been really good about paying, but there are a couple that, you know, they struggle. But we do have to revisit that, or I have to revisit it.
Another concept that I brought up on and off the last 20 years is impact fees
Right,
for new construction,
yes,
extensive renovation work, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
In my mind, it's perfectly legitimate.
yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure
no,
some might disagree, but it certainly, it would have to be looked at, there'd have to be some sort of a scale. You know, some projects, an impact fee could be $10,000.
right,
Other projects could be 100. Who knows?
so
Tell me about that a little bit, because that's not the world I live.
Well, it's essentially it's tied to zoning,
Okay,
and the
so,
planning commission.
yeah. So
The planning
if
commission makes changes with zoning bylaws.
whether you have a new single-family house, a new two-family, a new dormitory building, a new classroom building, whatever it might be, based upon whatever scale is established,
square footage.
there's whether it's square footage or whatever, there's an impact fee. So at the time a zoning permit is issued, there's a fees for the zoning permit, and then there's an impact fee
to help offset.
to help offset costs down the
increased
road.
Services, right.
Exactly,
Right.
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
For all the municipal services, highway,
Got it.
or contracted police, contracted ambulance, fire EMS, water, sewer,
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
sidewalks, whatever.
Yeah, no, and that would be in the instance of new dormitories, for example, like
Right.
Putney School, and
Yeah,
or full, you know,
Right.
full disclosure, I'm on that board, chair of that board. You know, Putney School is building 2 new substantial dorms, as I think you know, will be. That, yeah, not under construction yet. But some of our oldest and most decrepit dorms, the main one being old boys, will go away.
Yeah.
So, you know, there would have to be, you know, I guess since we never had impact fees on that previously.
Right.
I was thinking, like, how do you consider that? Because you're not, in that instance, you know, you're retiring as much living space as you are creating new living space, but.
And again, those are the questions I don't know.
Yeah.
We'd have to have a lot of talk about that.
Yeah.
But that's an option.
it is an option.
Yeah.
That we should consider.
Would that be going through the plan, I mean, would that be a planning commission issue, or would that? I mean, it's not really a zoning issue.
It's not an issue, so the planning commission takes care of amendments for the town plan and the zoning bylaws.
Right,
And if we get the grant to do the zoning amendments, we're gonna do a deep dive. And that's when we can talk about the impact fees.
okay. That's where it usually lands.
Right, and then this board would have to approve and adopt.
Yeah, no.
Do we know other towns that have impact fees?
I would think Brattleboro has them.
They might, I just
Yeah.
don't know.
Or-
I haven't
It's a good question.
Or some variation. I mean, you know, one of the problems that we have, and you know this well from your role as a lister, is Like, I mean, if I do a renovation on a house and there's no change to the footprint,
Right.
there's no permitting process at all. So there's no change in that value. I mean, somebody can take a, $200,000 house and put $300,000 into it,
Right.
and it doesn't change the value of the house. It should, obviously.
Right.
And in this day and age where we're seeing the escalation of prices on houses, and not that we want to add to the cost of stuff, but the reality is the listers don't see that unless there's a change in footprint. And even when we do a reassessment,
Sometimes.
a townwide reassessment, it really doesn't show that much. It's
Yeah.
still all based on footprint. So,
And
we
zoning
either,
doesn't see it either.
right, and many, like in Brattleboro, if you want to renovate a building, you've got to get it permitted, and there are permitting fees. So that's almost a form of an impact,
Right.
fund. So,
Right.
and we just don't have it because we don't see it.
Right.
And that's great in a way, but it doesn't benefit the town in the way it probably should.
Right.
Especially as we're seeing more and more higher end work like that. We've all seen how many of the older, more beat up houses that have changed hands and, are escalating significantly in value and not escalating as significantly in value on the grand list.
Right.
So, so that's a zoning issue, which I guess that is planning commission that changes zoning bylaw. Is that where it is at?
Yes, yep, they start, and then they have to do all the warnings and the meetings, and then you end up with, revised, and then you have a public informational meeting and.
And there are plenty of people for all sorts of good reasons who are very resistant to that
Yes.
concept.
Yes.
But as far as different revenue streams, and especially as you pointed out, revenue streams from those who can afford it more than others, then that's a different,
And my own personal concept of this would not be for the town to get rich off,
no, of course not.
but just to help a little bit.
Be a little more sustainable.
Right.
Exactly, to try to keep that slope a little
Yeah.
less steep.
Well, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So I want to add, if you're all set right now.
That's for telling me to shut up.
Yes. So you don't see Tom's revenue on here because it's in the front end of the general fund, and we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
So he's proposing, on a separate sheet, $15,500 for revenue. But you also have to account for the $56,000 that comes in from the private schools, okay? If we add this grant into his expenses at $75,000, so that would increase his budget alone $102,279.
75 on top of what's already being.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
And the same thing with when we plugged that magic grant number in 2 years ago,
right,
two things come about. We may not get the grant.
Right.
So if that were the case, I'd come back the next year and request for that to be, well, actually, if we hit things right, we may actually be able to get two different grant opportunities within the same budget year.
Yeah.
But anyways,
right,
we may not get the grant. Along with that, before we can move forward with the grant, if we were awarded the grant, we have to get approval to expend the money. So just because it's there,
The grant money, right.
we have to.
Yeah, we've done that contingent upon.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that would just be in the language of the article.
right, it doesn't mean it has to be spent,
Right.
but
But if
the
we're
intent
going to
would
receive
be
the money,
if we're,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, to spend 75,000 to get 300 and something,
Yeah,
well, if you didn't get the grant that year, you could transfer that money into a capital reserve fund
yes,
for the fire department.
yeah. Yeah, no, and actually, I mean, that's a good example of the value of having a capital reserve fund for the fire department is, you know, not that you would want to hide that from the voters, but it wouldn't be dependent on voters
Right.
for that purpose. Right. Yeah,
So, yeah, there's a lot going on right now.
and unfortunately, I mean, you know, one of the nice things about highway department grants is that often they can do a lot of in-kind. With
Oh,
something like
absolutely.
this,
We don't have that
you
option.
can't give money.
The only grant that we have that option with is a grant for dry hydrants. That's
what?
for dry hydrants.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only option we've got to do that.
And then you're leaning on the highway department to do, I mean, obviously it's town.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't bother you, does that?
Speaking of, how are you feeling about the condition of your dry hydrants going into winter after the storm? I mean,
The only real concern I've got is that side of town
the culvert.
where we lost the hydrant on Hickory Ridge.
Yeah, right.
I've talked at length with Casey Darrow, to ask him, and he's obliging us obviously to get his hydrant there at across from the orchard, get that cleaned out just as quick as you can each storm, because that's our next go-to for that area. And
That's a
Wow,
long way.
ways.
Ridge,
yeah, I know.
How about, I was gonna suggest Shumlin's Pond, but it's in Westminster.
Yeah.
Do they have a dry hydrant in that?
I don't know. No, they don't. They don't.
That wouldn't be a bad, that's a big pond.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad spot for a dry hydrant.
But it's a ways away. All we do to counter that is we call in more tankers.
Right.
So if as the drive time extends,
Yeah,
we gotta call in more tankers to counter that, and our road cars do that, so.
and I suppose you don't have, there aren't huge structures out that way, so more tankers can mostly cover that.
Yeah.
And the one, the one up at Brook Road and Windmill Hill is functional or not?
No, that's still out of service. So our goal for next spring, and I've already talked to our dry hydrant grant folks, they're already on board, is get a new hydrant put in on Hickory Ridge Road and get the one on
Windmill Hill or Brook
yeah,
Road.
let's do the intersection of South Windmill Hill and Brook Road.
Yeah.
Get that one completely redone, so we don't have to worry about it again.
What do we have to go through to clean that culvert out?
Which one?
The one on Hickory Ridge Road?
Well, that's,
Do we have to go through like the natural resources?
yeah, that, we would have to get permitted for that.
Going.
But before we do that, the property owner would have to sign off on it. And from what I understand today, the property owner up there wants nothing to do with that.
Really?
So, yeah.
The other property owner adjacent on the other side is Jeff, who
Yeah.
I would think would be.
And we've already talked with Jeff, and he has said, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just tell me what it is after you got it planned out.
Yeah.
So we're thankful that he's willing to work with us. Good, okay. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Tom.
Have a good night.
You too.
Tom, I don't think it probably does you any good, but, you know, I'm the property owner for the vast majority of Brook Road up through there. So if there's anywhere along Brook Road that could be of value to you, I mean, there aren't any substantial bodies of water there, but.
There could be.
Yeah.
I would.
Okay. All right.
It's about.
All right, thank you.
I say that without having spoken to my wife about it. Yeah.
Or is it joining landowner?
All right, have a good night.
All right, so moving on, listers.
Yeah,
Unless you need a break.
I need to quote credit.
Okay, so listers. You'll see they have an increase of $4,475, which is not bad. What is increased is salary.
And that's because of number of hours, more than cost per hour, right?
No, what they plan on doing is, so they're gonna have 3 full-time listers, not full-time, sorry, 3 listers. The head lister would be at a higher salary.
Yep.
And then the other 2 at, who's the same
How do
salary,
they decide who's the head lister?
the more experienced ones, so.
Sure.
I think you would already was,
This
but I'm just-
is, this is the,
they used to do that, like, that was
Yeah.
the way that they were
Yeah,
structured.
yeah.
when they got
so
rid of it.
he will be running again for another 3-year term.
Right.
What he'd like to do is train the other 2.
Mhm.
Is when, at some point,
He wants to be done.
he's gonna get done.
Mhm.
So if the head lister is training the other 2, they should come up to speed quickly. And then the next obvious person would be the head lister. It's either that or we Jordy talked about an assessor
Mhm.
and no listers, which would have to go to the voters.
And then would we contract that, or that would be?
Yeah,
We would have to.
yeah. I looked that up and there's 2 ways to do it. You can do it as, well, there's several ways to structure it, but you can have an assessor and you can have listers.
3 listers or 2?
3,
Right?
because you still need a board for grievance. Or you can do away with the lister board and
Right,
have an assessor
yeah.
Who does everything?
who does everything. And I mean, I don't know what the best solution for Putney would be, but,
Jordy wasn't thinking, he mentioned assessor, but he's not leaning that way.
Yeah.
Westminster has an assessor from Nemrick. And
And
they
the-
have listers.
The theory of that model would be that your cost of your listers drops.
it's more of a,
Level of professionalism. Well, if you-
there's so many aspects to the job.
Right.
Right.
That it really does take probably at least 5 years to truly get up to speed on how to do it,
Yeah.
especially if you don't have any assessing experience at all.
Right.
So, so to have somebody who's, got the experience, got the certifications, has the experience, it's like a lot of the jobs that used to be elected, like
Right.
your town clerk,
Right,
your treasurer, all of these jobs, they really require
More
specific,
complex, yeah.
Right.
yeah, so I think that's the theory behind it, not so much a cost savings. But there could be some cost savings amongst the towns if they wanted to, pool their money and have like, a part-time assessor for 3 towns or something like that.
How long has Westminster had an assessor?
They had an assessor when I was up.
They did.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
Might be, well, you may know how that, budgetarily, how that compares to what we have, what the value. I mean, I would think the value of an assessor would be able, partly what I was saying before about what doesn't get seen, but
Right.
maximizing the grant list,
That's what Jordy was saying.
which
Yeah.
presumably
Yes.
pays,
Yes.
pays for
Hopefully
that
pays for
assessor.
itself.
Right. Right.
Hopefully. Brattleboro, for what it's worth, they have an assessing department and then they have a lister board beyond that. And the listers primarily, they take care of grievance.
Sort of deal with the,
They
yeah,
deal with the grievance.
the
part.
political part. of it.
Yes.
Yeah, you could all forget the political. part.
Absolutely. Assessor.
Come on, you guys.
That'd be one of the most effective ways to level the playing field, wouldn't it?
You have to be fair enough with
I'm the fairest person.
So other
Fair's
than
my fault.
the salary line, expenses went up a little bit accordingly, but I think we've captured everything in that department at this point.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, cool.
town clerk. So town clerk's budget is up $5,440. The biggest change there is the assistant salary. Because what I did was I took Kim is now doing 15 hours a week in the town clerk's office, and she'll be doing 20 hours a week as finance officer, assistant treasurer. So I didn't want to leave her whole salary in the town clerk's department because it wouldn't be fair. So that's been reduced by 3,460, but it will go on the other side on the other end in the treasurer's department.
But pretty much everything else is up.
Yeah. Well, it's up because, so postage, right?
Postage?
So,
Oh, probably from mail-in ballots.
yeah,
Some of that, yeah, certainly.
well, it's not for the ballots, it's for recordings. So the towns now, it's mandated by the state, towns have to pay the postage.
Unfunded mandate.
But what happens is
Postage for what?
Yeah,
for all their recordings that get recorded, so the originals go back to the person or the attorney's office or whoever sent it, yeah.
Okay,
Yep, but what happens is on the other end, he gets extra money.
can we increase the recording fees?
No, because the state,
The state gets the.
well, no, the
Mandate that
state
one too?
tells him how much of the recording
What
money,
the cost is.
yes, that we can take, and it goes into the restoration fund. So if you want a breakout of that, I can get Jonathan to give me that.
In the scheme of things, it's probably not,
Pretty small.
it's a small
Yeah.
thing, I'm just,
Well, it's not really small
No.
because it's building up the restoration fund.
yeah,
You know, but yeah, the postage, you know, you have a 20-page mortgage that gets recorded, that has to go back.
That's chunk of change,
Yeah, yes, it is.
especially postage rates have been.
Mhm. Yeah. So we're trying to capture that. Hopefully we'll have enough in the budget this year.
this is a little bit of a sidebar, but is the town planning on still contracting with NIMRIC after the grand list goes up? The new grand list software, are you aware of the new grand list software?
No, I don't know enough about it. Jordy hasn't informed me.
New grand list software is not never.
Is not NIMRIC, right? So, the state has contracted with a company called Axiomatic. And,
When is that going into effect? Because that's
so
my,
it's 20, I think it's, well, who knows? But the idea, I think, is, this summer of 23, or that, fiscal year 23,
yeah, so I would have to know.
fiscal year 24. But
The
in the
cost.
summer, yeah. So, well, I don't believe there's, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't think there's a cost to the towns for the new Axiomatic software. For the
Well,
grand list.
right, so for the lister's office, NEMRIC costs them $1,250 a year.
Okay.
So even if, I mean, I can leave that in there as a buffer. And it's not gonna hurt.
Right, no, yeah.
Yeah, so,
So, but would that program be able to communicate with you? Because
No.
they,
I don't know. It's kind of amorphous. The tax bills are gonna come out of there.
yeah, that's what I heard.
Out of accident, well, not accident, it's actually called Vermont Pi. I didn't make it up.
Vermont Pi,
Yes,
PI or PIE?
PIE, it stands for something, Vermont something. Yes. Property something. I'm sorry, I should have it at the top of my head.
Okay.
But, this is, I've segued off of something. It's the tax bills are gonna be generated out of there, grievances, all of that stuff is gonna be generated out of the new system. So theoretically, it shouldn't have to talk that way. It should have import and export capabilities to populate whatever else you're using. But I don't know that part.
Well, it
It's just
may,
a question because
Yeah.
NIMRIC is, it's an old Foxborough program.
Right.
It's got no security at all. It's really probably should go away.
I looked at a whole new company, and it was like $60,000
Yeah,
to convert.
another expensive.
To go away from Limerick
Yeah,
for us, for everything.
yeah, the
Yeah.
transition would, so his transition of 8,100 is like nothing compared to what I was looking at.
Right. But
Yeah.
there are some real security concerns with that memories program.
Especially in the world, presumably in the world of ransomware.
Yeah, so,
So what is Brattleboro use?
memory.
All right.
So,
Well, they're
I don't know.
larger.
I don't know if there's
They're
any,
gonna go after the big boys.
yeah,
I
don't know.
For everybody.
they actually went to, I don't know if you heard this in the news, but, the town of Peterborough, New Hampshire, lost, I think it was, it might have been even $5 million because of, hackers convincing them to, deposit money elsewhere. So. it
We
can
are
happen.
seeing,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch
we're
that.
seeing emails, scam emails.
Yeah.
Like, I got one that said, please contact us about, it was Brian,
Mhm.
his direct deposit, right? He
I've
didn't
got-
have direct deposit,
No,
but it was
it's-
like,
I've gotten emails that supposedly are from you.
Oh, yeah, I've gotten so many from you. in the last
I got
6
one
months.
from Larry and he was on vacation. And I'm like, and I responded and I'm like, and I blocked it, but it was his actual
Well, that's the
address.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My mom gets them from Social Security.
Yeah.
All the time. I got 2 in my shop from Social Security a week ago.
yeah.
Like live people.
I got a phone call today that was a recorded message saying your Amazon account, somebody is trying to charge a $1,500 charge for a new iMac on your Amazon account. Press 1 to cancel. So I was like, no, that's not me. So I pressed 1. And then a guy comes on the phone with an Indian accent and says, hello, I'm the
Yeah.
administrator for this batch number, so-and-so, so-and-so. Can you start, and it starts asking, I'm like, no way.
Wow. Yeah,
So
So-
what, so tell me, I'm sorry, hearing impairment. What happened to Peterborough again?
so basically, one of their administrators got a scam email, and said, it was basically asking for, a deposit for the school, the stipend.
Oh, so
School
it's
budget.
doing
School payment.
School payment,
Exactly.
and it looked legitimate enough that they actually went for it. And the town is out like $5 million. They're getting some of it back, but,
Right.
I think they're in the hole still for $2.5 million because of that. So it is
Yeah.
something that will happen to smaller towns.
Yes.
Just,
Holy shit.
Yeah, and this is
Well-
why there's certain information I won't give in a meeting anymore.
Anyway, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway, sorry to
It's
put us in
okay.
a
Moving along.
totally different.
Fenneky's looking for track the pulse.
So are you, I'm gonna leave these with you and you're gonna
Yeah.
digest them anyway, and then if you have more questions next week, you can ask me.
Yeah.
The next one is elections. So this one is up by $1,400. But it's because
Mailing.
the mailing of the ballots.
Okay,
And I asked John, he goes, well, I'm not sure if we're gonna be doing that. I'm like, it doesn't matter, just put it in.
Put it in. Yeah. I would
I
agree.
said, let's just put it in and go from there. And then we have like 2 elections and 1 town meeting, so.
Well, the other thing I think we have to think about, as we all recognized a year ago,
Yeah.
is the value in doing that.
Yes.
Even if
Yes.
it's not amended.
yeah,
I
I think
think-
that was great, as long as we're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's important we do it. The voter participation was up so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John and I are gonna be working on something that we'll bring to the board the next meeting, not tomorrow, but in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And Westminster, I noticed on their agenda, they had a select board item, whether or not to mail Australian ballots to all voters.
Right.
So, and we know Michael Maricki in the state, they're working on something. It may be that we may not have an in-person town meeting. So it's still too early to know that, but I'm leaning and preparing that we're gonna be at the library. but,
Another like informational session again.
and
Well-
we will have to do more than one public informational meeting. What I'd like to do,
Which we always do anyway, but
Yes.
it was much more substantial. But
Yes.
I mean, we always do some variation on that, but yeah.
if we can wrap up our budget by the end of December, where you're comfortable with it, and then we bring it to the public in maybe 1 or 2 meetings prior to, you know, when we have to vote.
Yeah.
I would really prefer to do that. We need to get the public involved.
Mhm. As you know,
Yes.
I mean, we see Mary and Robin are here. Thank you, Mary and Robin, for being here. You're very consistent, and Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
But, you know,
Right.
it's almost impossible, especially budget.
These are online right now, as we speak, so I'm gonna make an attempt to put it on Facebook, you know,
Publicize the thing.
Yeah.
That'd be
a,
good.
a little more communication.
Yeah.
But,
At least 2 other people to look at it, I'm sure.
yeah,
It's funny how many people have comments about it, Command, very few
Oh, yeah.
show up and show what's going on.
Right.
Well, let's show up for the ones that are going for everybody else.
So the next one is cemetery. This budget has increased. I met with the cemetery commissioners and, we needed to bump it up a little bit because they've been over budget year after year. So it went up $8,500. I also took,
8,500, wait, I don't see
It went
that.
up by 8,500?
About 50 there, and then
yeah,
5,500.
yeah, so 5,050.
Oh, 85, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were all-
I'm on the wrong one.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm on the wrong one. Got it.
So what I've done too, I took the mowings and any other maintenance, I split it out because it was so hard to determine what was like a tree got cut or brush got cut or,
what caused the.
you know, or a stone had to be repaired or something like that. So mowings are separate because they're contracted. And then everything else is under maintenance. And I added a line item for supplies too.
I've noticed, and I assume you're paying it, but I haven't seen fall cleanup occur yet, and
We just got billed for everything.
for fall cleanup,
Yep.
but it hasn't happened yet.
I'm sure, we got invoices today.
Mount Pleasant, there's leaves all over the place in Mount Pleasant. And they did it once, but it's,
Yeah, they did it once already,
They did it, must have done it early.
not
because
too early.
the oak trees.
Well, here's the problem,
There's a lot of
because
leaves there.
just driving over here, there's still a lot of leaves on some trees.
Yeah, no, I know, but
Yeah.
but most of them have now dropped.
Yeah,
We might want to explore that because it's gonna be a mess in the spring if it's left the way it is
Well-
right now, but.
they're contracted to clean it up in the spring, so that's key work.
So it's not a,
But
Yeah, yeah,
It might be worth giving them a heads up on that, just
yeah,
because you're right, if they're contracted. I know if I was doing it, I'd rather come and do a little more cleanup now than try and do it.
Move those leaves while they're dry, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but, I'll have John, I've been having John deal with cemeteries.
Yeah.
As cemetery commissioner.
Yeah,
And I have asked him to go out and check on the work, to make sure it's getting done.
I mean, it might be, like Maple Grove might be fine because they're all maple trees,
Right.
but Mount Pleasant, there's a bunch of oak leaves on the ground.
Right. Well, they did town hall and I held them off until that chestnut tree dropped all
Yeah.
its leaves.
Yeah.
But these trees over here still had green on them and they had cleaned up and then they all dropped but I'm not gonna call
It's,
them, come clean it up.
it's climate change to some degree.
Yeah.
I used to always do my raking 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And 90% of the leaves, and I have beeches and oaks, that's what I have.
yeah,
And they hang on. You get
Right.
2 or 3 hard freezes,
yeah,
and one wind around the ground.
yeah,
I've raked 3 times this fall. I raked up all the maples and the birches And then I raked up the early oaks, and then this last weekend, all the beeches and oak leaves came out again.
Yeah.
And I've never had to do that before. So wet summer, big flood junctions, warmer and later in the fall.
Yeah.
So.
So in a nutshell, no pun intended. In the past, we used to allocate $8,500 to the cemetery commission. It will now be $12,700.
Got it.
Yeah. So I was on the total line.
Yeah. So, I mean, if our cemeteries are important in town of Putney, we need to increase the budget to cover the cost for them to be maintained. And I will be putting in the capital budget too, the Route 5 wall at Mount Pleasant. I spoke to Greg in a meeting, and he had a price, and this was a while back, like $150,000.
To do that wall.
Yeah. And I think it's important that it goes into the capital plan because
It's gonna.
it has to,
It's not.
right,
It's not fully failing yet, but it's gonna fully fail
right,
with time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be planning on that project at some point.
I wonder, it might, I have no idea, but it might be worth it, since it's a state road, it might be worth inquiring the state whether they have any obligation. I doubt it, but
Yeah, I think
it
when,
might be worth exploring.
yeah, I think Greg might have done that, but
Did it?
yes,
So just to be clear, this is the section of stone wall from Quaker Meeting House up to the corner.
not the whole thing, it's right in the middle.
Got it.
It's-
From the entrance up.
Yeah, there's two entrances, so it's the one that's closer to town,
Okay.
that wall right there. It's probably more now,
Change.
because that was a while ago, he had that quote,
And who gave us this quote? Yeah.
I don't remember.
There's gotta be grants for that.
I would think.
Yeah, there's all kinds of grants for cemetery, I need a grant writer.
Yes.
We talking about that?
Yeah, I'm working on it. But, again, lots of stuff just like circling around, and we just gotta put it in place. So yeah, that budget's going up as well. Sewer. So as far as sewer and water, we all know that the users pay for any expenses. The town, other taxpayers do not contribute to these two funds. So it's user-based. There's a couple items in here. We'll start with sewer. Line item, engineer contract, you'll see $7,500.
This is under.
Sewer.
Engineer, yeah.
Yeah. So I put that figure in there. And I may take it back out. But if we have like a sewer break, so Simon's operation, they're contracted throughout the year at a certain price. Any extra stuff they bill us.
Which we've experienced. before.
Yes, yeah, especially if the water main breaks twice already. Yes, and it ends up going over budget, you know, that contract line. So I think there should be a safety net, you know, for expenses for water main breaks.
I also think both of these would be really important places to look for ARPA money expenditures.
Absolutely.
We cambered the sewer a number of years ago. But
Yeah.
that probably should be done.
I think Simon's has a camera now.
Other than that.
Yeah.
We brought somebody in and they cambered, I think not the whole system, but the majority of it. And there were some issues even at that time, some of which have been repaired, some of which but, you know, the sewer in particular is, getting to be pretty archaic. So,
Yes. On our agenda for tomorrow night, too, is an ARPA update status. Eileen and I can fill you in. The other increase too, which I may take back out, is maintenance. So there's a certain amount of maintenance that needs to be done, and it's still not getting done, even though there's money in the budget to do it.
Yeah, I was looking at that roof on Sand Hill just today, actually, as I drove past it. We have a roof fund. I don't know whether that would be, I mean, I know water is separate.
Right, it is a public building.
Yeah, exactly. We might want to think about that.
Are you talking about the sunroof, the window on top? Or are you talking about the whole roof?
Needs a new roof on the pump house by the ball field.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year, but pretty darn soon.
Right.
But it's an asphalt, I mean, it's not a big building and it's an asphalt roof, so it won't be tremendously expensive, but
We want, well,
Sand Hill, that's what I assumed you meant by on Sand Hill.
Yeah, well, Joe told me, somebody called me and they said the skylight window is broke.
I'm not aware of that, but I wasn't looking. It's
Well,
on the
no,
other side, I
Yeah,
wouldn't see it.
it is broken, Joe checked it out for me. But I'm thinking you don't want to leave it like that.
No,
No,
So, all right, I'll call a roofer. Travis. And other than that, if there's any increases, it's chemicals, sludge disposal. And testing. Testing has gone up quite a bit. So that's stuff that we have no control over. So this is up $18,085. But what I'm gonna, I have,
7,500 of that was the engineer.
right. Yeah, if I took that and the 5,000 out
Mhm.
for the maintenance,
so roof repair on Sand Hill would come under water, not sewer, but
And you said there's a roof fund?
yes.
Okay.
in the general fund.
And
Yeah,
there's
there's
a-
like
there's a reserve.
$38,000 in there.
We've been doing 10 a year for a while.
Yes, but remember we did the barn over
That's right.
here,
That's right.
so,
And that was just, that came out just over 10. No.
what, this one out here?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's less than that.
I was gonna say.
I thought it was like 7 or
Yeah, that
6,
makes more sense.
6,800 or something.
Okay. Well, I remember that.
So, I'm gonna play with this a little bit, I wanna massage it a little more. Because what I don't wanna see is, an increase in fees.
No. Stay ahead of that as opposed to getting behind on it.
Right. Well, I know too that we're gonna be getting, we'll have 25 units coming up. The Putney lining, they wanna come on to the water system, Putney in,
Oh, right, yeah.
so that's selling. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, it is selling, definitely?
Yeah. It's gonna stay the same. The restaurant won't come online for at least a couple of years maybe. It'll get the feet on the ground. And then, and Rods wants to get on water and sewer. And then I got one, Greenberg wants to get on sewer too.
It is new building.
Yes. And that's sold as well.
Greenberg.
So you just made a comment, Josh, so you think the roof on Sand Hill should go under?
That's what, well, I think probably it could come out of building fund, but maybe it shouldn't, because if this is, as you said, user supported.
Right,
Then maybe it shouldn't, I don't know, just
let
something
me
to consider.
think about it.
But also it would be water, not sewer. I mean,
Right,
the
it's
structure by
pump station,
the
yeah.
structure
Yeah,
by the ball field is just water, it's not sewer.
well, let me just see one thing.
I don't know whether that matters that much, but
It might, because I don't know if I have. I think I have a maintenance line under the water, maybe that's why it's sitting all together. All right, onto the water.
well, you've got repairs. But not maintenance.
Right. So engineer contract again, I put $7,500 in there because I know if there's a major break, there's no insurance for that. But I may take that back out.
Well, yeah, capital reserve list. Capital reserve, I mean, yeah, we have to see where we end up on the big picture.
I don't know if you can do a reserve on this, because it's
Oh.
a different type of account.
Because it's user, yeah.
Yeah,
What does it
Right.
have to be entirely user funded?
yep, the whole thing is.
Water definitely is, there was a bond for, there was a bond for the sewer for a long time.
Yeah.
Because we stopped asking taxpayers
Yeah, when Chip was
for a
here,
while.
the town, the entire town was contributing $40,000, 40,000 a year.
Because the argument could be made that this town, even the people who aren't on
Benefits
water
from it.
benefit from. the
Absolutely,
system.
and
Right,
that was the argument. Originally, when that 45,000 was bonded to the town. I think it was bonded, pretty sure. But yeah, but not surprisingly, there's a lot of people who don't see it that way.
sure, right, sure.
But it's still an argument, I hear you.
Same argument for public school, right?
Yeah.
Kids in the public school, so don't have to pay that part of the tax.
Yeah.
So this budget is up $7,802.
Yeah.
But if I take 7,500, we're right in line where we need to be.
Right.
Let me just see if there's anything else. Bond payment. No, so I think we're good.
Well,
On that one.
this is a good start, Karen.
In your packet too,
Packet for tomorrow or packet,
for tonight,
yeah, Yeah.
you'll see, I just received this tonight, I wanna bring it up, because we're gonna have to think about this. So the Putney Energy Committee proposes that the town of Putney add a line item to the budget for fiscal year 23. To fund the salary of an energy sustainability coordinator in the amount range between $16,000 and $20,000 annually. We're gonna have to have discussion about this. And I would, we could probably do it either in a regular budget session or an actual meeting. Because like tomorrow, I do have some town meeting stuff.
Yeah.
You know, on the agenda, not related to budget, but this is related to budget.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
I think the energy committee, and maybe that's why Robin's here, I don't know. I think the energy committee would like a chance to present the reasoning.
that would make sense. Yeah.
right.
So, so it's probably a budget discussion. I guess that's all I have to say about it right now.
Right,
Yeah, I think, I mean, my immediate response without having any time to digest it is, if we're gonna consider something like that, it would have to be pretty clear that there would be a longer term economic benefit to doing that of reasonable value.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what the presentation would,
right,
but I don't know.
yeah. So I'm gonna leave that with the board as well.
Yep.
And then the only other two items left are fiscal year 21-22 employee hourly rates with benefits. And then I gave you a sheet for 22-23, so you can see the difference. I did not put any names to any line items.
Yeah.
But this gives you a general sense of what the current rate, hourly rate is. And then with all the benefits,
What actual value of the.
yeah,
or the
which is
actual
on the,
cost, value.
yeah, which is on the far right. But you can-
Wow. The
Yes.
benefit package, that's a lot. Wow.
And then for 23, I put in the 6% cost of living rate. And then I changed the numbers accordingly. So the pension's gonna go up. The medical insurance went up a little bit. I was surprised it's
Didn't
not.
go more.
Yeah,
That's good.
yep. But it gives you something to compare to.
Exactly.
I know. Again, I'm gonna leave it with the board, but, the budget right now has 6% rate increases.
The total, yeah.
I will do another spreadsheet with the 3%.
Well, maybe as we just witnessed and walked through, nobody's gone down. I mean,
No.
there isn't a single,
No, they all went up.
there's not a single budget. that's
Yeah.
gone
And that's at least partially reflective of how hard it was last year to keep it level funded. And rightfully so, not knowing where this would go, we thought.
Yeah.
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But,
But
Yeah.
here's the rebound.
and here's part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I mean, just inflation is
Right.
gonna, I mean, I think this reflects a reality that may or may not come fully to fruition, but is more than likely to. you
Right.
know.
In the fiscal year 23, I also added 2 new employees for town hall.
We've been needing to head that way for
Yeah.
a long time.
And I gave one person a family and I gave the other person a 2-person medical.
As a imaginary.
Yes. Worst case scenario type thing. So you're gonna see that in there as well.
Is that broken out here anymore?
I can,
As far as
I'll
the
point
salaries?
you to it. It's, yeah, they're both $18 an hour. See the gray line right there, Eileen? Right, that goes right across.
Don't have that.
No.
Oh, it didn't show up, darn it. So right here, David, those
Gotcha.
two. You're on that.
18.
There you go, yep.
Oh, right here. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
70, this is a bi-weekly.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
1,053,000.
And these, those numbers too, by the way, are like annual numbers, so it's,
Does this include, I know in the scale of things, it's a very small number, but this does not include the per diem for firefighters, is that right?
that is correct.
Does it include, the fire chief and the highway department?
The highway department, yes.
And fire
Tom.
chief,
And
yes,
Tom, yep,
just not the per diem.
right.
And does it include the per diem for library, the part-time library folks?
The library is in there. But not,
Library,
so
but
but not the
broken down
part-time,
for, right, exactly.
right,
For
so
two
just
salaries.
full-time employees.
Okay, so if we were to take these, all of these numbers and add them, they're not gonna add up all the way because they put their salaries in their budgets.
Right,
Okay.
right, you can't do that,
Okay.
no,
Right, this is all of our, basically our FTE employees.
Yes,
for all
yes.
practical purposes.
yes.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give the select board an idea that if somebody's making $18 an hour with all their benefits.
What the
it's
value
much-
that is.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, no,
They're actually making 30 some odd dollars an hour.
right,
yeah, 30 to 35, depending
yeah, what,
on the benefit.
Right.
yes,
No, and I think that's also one of those things that not every, I mean, I know everybody gets it to a certain extent, but they also sort of say, really, that's my salary? That's not great. It's like, well, actually,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, no, I hear comments and like, but do you realize?
You have to clarify, yeah. Because it's hard for me. It's hard, you don't feel that effect all the time,
Right, right.
so.
And, I even had somebody not working here and say, well, I'm gonna have to take a cut in pay, and I'm like, yeah, but if you look at the benefits,
Right, what
that
does that-
outweighs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, it's hard, a lot of people don't translate that.
right. So that is all I have for tonight. I know the next meeting, which is Wednesday next week.
Not this coming, not tomorrow, but the Wednesday after that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a budget.
So
Another
December
budget.
8th, I would like to do another, it's a
Budget.
Wednesday night,
Right, yeah.
5:30.
Yeah.
I can tell you,
So I won't have to argue with my son.
yes.
Yes. You might still argue with your son about that.
Just different, yeah.
Arguing with them is fine, it's being wrong.
That's the part.
So I'll have the general fund and the highway fund. So Brian's working on his budget right now.
General fund and the highway fund, we did not see today.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yep. But what I'm gonna do, Eileen, is I'll take like the listers, the town clerk, the election,
Right, there's
and the
chunks
cemetery,
quite a few
and the
chunks.
library
Yeah.
will all be in the
within
general
the
fund,
general fund, exactly.
okay?
Okay.
So, no, I have to say, I think that we haven't historically done this to separate out, and I think this was a very useful meeting,
Good,
because we weren't trying to plow through a bunch of other stuff in order to get to the budget, and then
Right.
sitting here going,
yeah,
you know,
right,
so I think that was
yeah,
helpful for me,
Smart.
certainly.
yeah, I know we added some extra nights, but. We all
Well, we
enjoy
always end up,
company.
but we always end up doing the extra nights anyway,
Right.
it's just, this feels
Yes.
like a less painful way to do it.
Yes,
And-
yeah.
I appreciate the small chunks.
Yeah,
Well,
I really
that's the
do.
thing,
well, you just get burned out, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And people are new and it's like,
I've
I
never
never
seen
seen how to
it.
use that, and it's like,
Yeah.
I know last year it was super helpful to me was to get it earlier and go through and highlight all of the things that were concerned before the meeting. And
Yeah.
then we can focus on those pieces. There are
Yeah.
different pieces for everybody.
Every bit,
Right.
yeah.
But it was, so there was a lot of it, that was just like, the
Right.
same, and we don't need to deal about it.
Yeah.
Doing that was great for me to do.
and it's hard for people to look at numbers on a piece of paper.
Mhm.
And then sometimes it's easier when you get a graph and you can like totally see,
Yeah,
what all those expenses are going to. And you can see the pie,
right.
Well,
Vermont pie.
Yeah.
This is the putty pie.
Oh. So does anybody have
All
any
right, humble
questions
one.
out there in Zoom world?
Mary, Robin, Elizabeth?
Robin,
Questions?
Robin, you have a question?
Oh, no, no questions from us. I heard you did get the proposal from the Energy Committee and yeah, it stands to reason you guys will want a little bit more information about that and let us know when.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Are we done?
that's all I have.
Yeah.
I don't have
So-
any other business and,
You do wanna,
Yeah, we should go into executive session just for that. I think it's one VSA 3133.
I move that we.
Yeah, and I'll second
Hi.
that.
wait, you're not, am I invited?
Yes, of course.
Man.
so
That's a few minutes.
it's been moved and seconded to enter executive session unless there's any further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. And there will be no decision made as a result.
All right.
So,
All right, so
Mary,
let's stop the
yeah, shut
recording.
that down.